Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm just going to make sure that the tech's working today because, as we know, it normally fails us somewhere along the line. Right, one sec. There's normally a log out and a log back in. Oh, but I think we're okay today. I think we've
we
got the
are.
gist. I think we've got the gist of this.
Oh, okay. Hang on.
One moment. We normally just have a quick check on Instagram to see on another Instagram page to see that we are live, but it looks like we are live. Can you see Kirsty on yours?
It does. It normally comes up is live, but it's not coming up to say live.
1 second then. 1 second. Okay, now I think we're live.
Oh yeah, it says live now.
Brilliant, brilliant.
We're live.
Yeah, we're live. Whoop, whoop. Okay, let me turn that down. Okay, good morning. Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the VA Live Lounge. Super excited this morning because we've got Tasha Dove. Is it Dove or Dove?
Dove.
Dove.
As in the bird.
Tasha Dove, as in the bird, with us. And she's got such an amazing story that I think is going to be really inspirational for any VA virtual assistant out there that has started their journey. Maybe they've let it go because it didn't work. Maybe they've come back and they're trying again. And she's got a brilliant story to tell you because Tasha did make it work after initial failure. So, Tasha, lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your business name and just a bit about your business?
Okay, well, my business name is Dove Virtual Assistant. You see what I did there? And basically, I started my business in April 21. Best thing I ever did. I've now got 12, soon to be 13 clients that trust me with their business, which is really good. And I love it. I absolutely love my job. They always say, don't they, if you love what you do, then you don't really work. And that's how I feel, to be fair. Sometimes it's a bit stressful.
Yeah.
Sometimes clients are a little bit annoying, bless them. But most of the time, everyone is really good to me. They're really kind. They're really polite, and I just get on really well with them all.
Brilliant.
But I think what it is I've learned through all the years before, all the skills I learned then is what I am now, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Go on.
No, I was saying I always now that I do what I do, I always used to think, why didn't I do this years ago?
Yeah.
But to be fair, on the positive side, I think if I'd done it at any other time, I wouldn't have the amazing clients I've got now. And it's all about timing, isn't it?
Well, it is because you need to gain that experience to know who your ideal client is and who you want to work with and who you're going to align with.
Yeah.
What's your background? So before you became a VA, what were you doing?
I was just an office manager.
Yeah.
Mainly for electrical businesses. But then in 2014, me and my not then husband moved to Reading and ran a pub for a year.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Different then.
Like you do. No, it was always on my bucket list to run a pub. I don't know why. I don't know why. I worked in pubs years ago, like as a behind the bar, and I've always wanted to run a pub. So we went to run a pub.
Wow.
That was a lot of fun, hard work. We did it for a year. But my husband's had 2 small children at the time, and it was really difficult to see them like every 2 weeks, like traveling back and forth on a Saturday morning, Sunday night. So in the end, we just like gave it up. But I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, well, I imagine it would have given you a lot of experience in running a business that you can then be more relatable to your client base.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't make any money, but we just had a really good time doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're still friends with a few of our regulars now. We're actually going up to see them in a few weeks.
Oh, nice.
To like all meet up. So yeah, it was a nice experience. But yeah, it taught me basically what it's like to not have a boss.
Yeah. Oh, and you like that? It's a bit addictive, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I came back from that, and then I started working in a bar as a supervisor. And I suddenly realised it's not the same if you're not the boss.
Yeah.
So I gave that up and got a job as an office manager at an electrical company.
Right. And so that was your next. So what year was that when you got the job?
So we came back in the end of 2014. Unfortunately, I had a major accident the day we were leaving the pub.
Oh no, what happened?
Yeah, so basically we had like a flat above the pub, and we were like airing it out, and we were opening all the windows, and I went into our bedroom and I went to open the window and it was stuck.
Right.
And I pushed it, my hand went straight through the window, blood everywhere.
Oh my God. Oh.
Screaming down the stairs. Husband ran up. Oh my God, tea towel, blood, bathroom was covered in blood. So,
Oh my God.
And our manager was due to come and collect the keys off us, and the moving van was due in an hour.
Oh
So
God.
a friend of ours had to take me to the hospital. Anyway, nightmare. So in the end, I couldn't get surgery,
right.
because we had the moving van broke down.
Oh well, it always happens, doesn't it? All of this stuff, it happens.
We had a car full of necessities and a dog.
Right.
And I didn't really want to stay overnight, so he bandaged me up, and then we moved to Wimborne in my husband's grand's house that we were looking after, and then I got surgery the following week.
Wow. But you know, all of these experiences, they make us more resilient, I think.
Definitely.
And it's all preparation
Yeah.
for running your own business, because
Yeah.
you have to get through it. I mean, I don't like the term pushing through, but some things you do have to learn how to manage it and say, look, it's happened. It's done.
Yeah.
It's how I behave now. It's what we do from here that counts.
Yeah.
So you then went to Wimborne, and I suppose that's where you started your job as an office manager.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't work for 3 months.
Oh, really?
Because my hand was all busted up, so I was all like in like a splint thing. I couldn't drive, I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything. So then I went to get a bar job, didn't like it because I wasn't the boss.
Yes.
And I applied and I got an office manager job.
Amazing. It's funny, isn't it? Because office management, I think it's a really good springboard into being a VA.
Oh, definitely.
There's quite a few people that are on the live at the moment. It'd be great to know what your backgrounds are before you became VAs. It's so interesting, I think, because my background, I did work as a PA for 6 years, doing, all the business admin and stepping in the role of the boss's shoes when she wasn't around, and then ran my own business because I just wanted more money. I ran a laundry company for 10 years. I ended up building it.
Really?
Yeah, a big company. Well, bigger, not massive, but we ended up dominating like the wedding industry across the West Midlands. So it was quite, it was amazing, because once you do it, you don't want to work for anyone else, do you? Then I managed a charity for 8 years before becoming a VA. So all of these things like line you up, I think, for that. Kirsty, tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from.
Yeah, so previous to this, I was operations manager for an alcohol exporter for how many years it was now. Felt like a lifetime. About 6 years, 7 years. And then I was made redundant. And I was completely similar to you, Tasha. Like, I just thought I worked so hard for that person, not 9 to 5, not Monday to Friday, bank holidays and all that kind of thing. And I thought, I'm just going to work that hard for myself. And exactly the same as you, it was the best thing that I ever did. Like, I would never, I couldn't even imagine, like, there's been times along the way where I've thought, this is just not going to work. I'm going to have to go back to the office and be around people again, because that's also a massive change, isn't it? When you go from an office to being just one person at home or wherever it is that you work. But I would could never change and go back. Just.
But I think what you were saying about resilience. I've been made redundant 3 times.
Oh, right. So this is part of your amazing story, isn't it? So take us through. I'm really interested in the timeline. You started as an office manager in an electrical business, and that's really quite prevalent to your story, because actually working in that environment helped you eventually find your clients. But it wasn't that easy to begin with for you, was it?
No.
So what happened? How did you? What was the turn of events that led you from not being in that position anymore and starting initially your first VA business?
Wow. Okay. So August 2020, through COVID, I was working for an electrical company, lovely company. And I still had to go in on my own. And I'd heard all about VAs through COVID. Do you know what I mean? Because everybody was a VA, you know.
Yeah.
So I just suddenly thought, I wasn't on great money, to be fair. I was working really hard for them. I'd made loads of changes, got on really well. But I suddenly thought, I could be a VA. I could do that. Do you know what I mean? I could put all my skills I've learned and put it into being a VA. So I spoke to my lovely friend Roz. She built me a website. I love the website. Hannah and I was in, thought this is it. I'm doing it. They were really happy for me. You know, well done, good luck. And then nothing.
Yeah.
Because I just assumed clients were just going to land in my lap. You know, I was reaching out to other VAs, trying to like get associate work. Wasn't really getting any joy. And then a few months went by, and I got a phone call from somebody that's in my CV on LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn, sorry, Indeed.
Yeah.
I didn't even realise it was on there, to be honest. And they invited me to an interview. I went to the interview, went really well. I went for 3 interviews. Even a personality test I've still got in my drawer here, actually. And he phoned me that night and said, "You scored the highest ever that we've ever done. I'd like to offer you the job."
Wow.
And it was really good money. Well, better than I was on. So I took it.
And what was that? What was that doing?
That was a kind of office manager for a stonemasons.
Right. And how long did you give it as being a VA and found that you weren't getting clients before you went back to employment?
So August 2020, I left. I left in September, and then end of October, I got offered this job. So it was
Right. Okay. Just a couple of months. Yeah.
So I started with this company. They weren't really my kind of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
I wasn't liking it. And then in January, I got furloughed.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And then by March, I was pretty bored. There's only so much daytime TV you can watch.
Yeah.
Husband going to work every day. And then end of March, I thought, I'm going to start my business again. I said, but I'm going to make sure it works this time.
So what was the shit? Because like, it's so interesting that you then showed up with, would you say, a different mindset this time around?
Definitely.
Because the first mindset you had, you just expected it would happen.
I think my first mindset, I'd left a really nice job, but a job that I couldn't really be myself, couldn't really put things I wanted into practice, wasn't earning that great money. Whereas the second time, I was leaving a job that I didn't like.
Yeah.
You know? Right. So that pushed me more into running my own business.
Yeah. But you must have, because you'd had an experience that it wasn't as easy as you thought it was going to be. So that must have made you more determined.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And you've built up all this resilience, you know, as well.
Yeah. But what the mindset I went into is because I was thinking, what can I offer people? You know, I didn't really want to do a niche thing, but I was thinking about my previous employment, and I thought electricians. I've worked with electricians for so many years. I'll reach out to them. So Facebook, I literally created a Facebook page. I reached out to a group called Electricians Network UK, which got thousands and thousands of members. And I posted a little bit about me, what I could do for them, tagged my Facebook page. And within a day, I got a message. He phoned me up. He took me on straight away. Now, at the time, I was still employed.
Right. He was furloughed. Yeah. Yeah.
So when he took me on, that gave me the confidence to hammer notes in.
Right, so because you were furloughed, but you hated the people, you didn't hate, but he wasn't aligning with the people you worked with. You were like, I need to make this business work because I don't want to be in this situation. And then luckily for you, having that experience in the electrical industry, you this time sat and thought about your ideal client. You thought about, well, who am I going to service? And that helped you to think about that. Whereas I think the mistake a lot of VAs make is we can serve everyone. Technically we can, but it's such a massive, like there's such a massive amount of people out there, like you say, especially in COVID, that became VAs. We're all trying to land exactly the same client. We had a show last week where we talked about niching, and I suppose maybe you didn't even realize you were niching at the time.
No,
but you were. And it's enabled it, and I think the thing is, people think that by niching they're going to exclude everybody else, but that's not what happens, because I think you'll probably explain in your case, you haven't just ended up working with people in the electrical industry.
No.
It's led to other opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. So I handed my notice in, and I had my first client, Jamie. And then a week later, and I kept posting on this Facebook group. A week later, I got Dave. A week later, I got Tom. A week later, I got another Jamie, and it just grew from there. And then, funny enough, I had 4 clients. I thought, this is great. Do you know what I mean? But I wasn't doing a huge amount of hours. So I then posted in my local Facebook group. Because I live in Furloughed, Dorset.
Yeah.
I've got a Facebook group called My Furloughed.
Right.
Lots of people post things about the area. So I posted on there. And I got a message from a lady called Sarah. She came round to see me, and she runs a care business. She cares for like old people, and she's got like lots of people that work for her. Well, quite a few people. And then she took me on in August 21.
Amazing.
And then I've even got it up here. And then October 21, another lady saw it called Vicky. She runs a business that rents out containers.
Yeah.
Up the road from me. So then she took me on. So and then funny enough, I had another electrician that I took on. He was a bit of a nightmare, to be fair. And he introduced me to his friend called Jack, who's a painter and decorator and could do with my help. So I got chatting to Jack. Jack took me on. He's a painter and decorator in Northampton. And then, cut a long story short, this client kind of shafted me because I went on holiday. I put somebody in place to do work for him while I was on holiday. And then when I got back, I sent him my invoice, never heard from him again.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting sideline. We'll come to that in a moment.
The good thing is he brought me Jack.
Yeah.
And Jack also told me while I was on holiday, he'd recommended this person to do a job for one of his clients, and he completely mucked it up. So Jack said, I'm never speaking to him again.
Well, so, you know, when you started it the first time and somebody's asked a question, so actually, one moment, let's just answer one of these questions. So Melinana, I think I've said that right, Melinana, has asked us if we could share like the basic skills, tools and fees that you need for a client as a VA. What I will say is that we do have a free resources, a free membership actually. If you go to the link in the bio and click on the resources, you can sign up as a subscriber and you can get access to loads of free things like tools, templates, links, and there is a VA starter guide in there as well. But basic skills. So, Tasha, what would you say the basic skills you need as a VA is?
I think one of the most important things is being good with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because, you know, I've got a lot of lovely clients, and the what do you call it? The testimonials they give me literally bring tears to my eyes, some of them, because it's just like, do you know what I mean? That we get on so well, and I think that is one of the most important things, is to get on well with people.
Yeah, you gotta have that rapport.
Yeah, you get that rapport, and then basically you build the trust. You know, because one of my clients, Jamie, bless him, Manchester, he when I first was trying to take him on, the concern he had was trusting me. Because, you know, I'm trusting you with my business here. I said, I know, but trust me, I will do a good job. And now, you know, his testimonial, he couldn't live without me now, you know?
Yeah.
You've had that experience recently, haven't you, Kirsty, with a client, because trust is a massive thing. And then he was really nervous. He was a tradesperson too, isn't he, Kirsty?
He is, yeah. And actually, when he initially signed up, he just wanted me to take his phone calls for him, which was fine. But actually, when we started, even after a couple of days, you know, I kind of understood what he was doing. And I think I mentioned last week, I think it was about 5 or 6 years he hasn't had a holiday. And since working with me, because I've told him what I can do, I've shown him what I can do for him, I've sorted his kind of CRM out, I've kind of, you know, done his invoicing and estimates and all that kind of thing. And now it's funny because there's one woman that he does quite a lot of work for, and now I speak to her once a week, and we're sort of like, oh, hi, how was your thingy? What did you do last weekend? So we've sort of built up that nice little trust, and, you know, and he's sort of now referring us to other tradespeople because he didn't understand what we could do. So I think it's a really good point, because if you are going down that route of clients being in the trade and that kind of thing, is tell them what you can do, because necessarily people won't understand what you can do unless you actually tell them or show them, or show them a testimonial. So I think it's really key to really shout about what you can offer these
I think that's a huge thing as well, is that my clients don't actually know what I do day to day. You know what I mean? And sometimes I think, I don't just work for you. Do you know what I mean? I try and be there for everybody, but I'm just one person,
It's funny because, like, when I kind of said to this particular client, oh, I can do that for you, and he was like, oh, can you? And I said, oh yeah, I can do this for you, this for you, this for you. And now he's like, in fact, he's just upped his hours, hasn't he, because he didn't have enough time.
Exactly.
And his literal words were worth every penny, because he said, I literally couldn't do without you now. We've only been working together for about 3 months.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But I also think, to answer the question, so basic skills, you need to be really organised and committed.
Oh, God, yeah.
You cannot be a flaky person. But from a perspective of like what you need to have grammar, you need to be able to have attention to detail. So with office skills, you need to be able to understand how to sort somebody's emails out. You need to be able to understand, how spreadsheets work, or you're not going to know everything, but I think the basic toolkit that most VAs have is the ability to write well, to compose like emails well, to be really organised, to understand what systems to use for research if they need to do that. You've got to have an ability to learn as well, because I'm not put off by not being able to do something. If I know that I can find out, I will say I can do it, and I'll go and do it.
Exactly the same as me. Yeah. If I don't know how to do something, Google, YouTube, I will find out a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It always, what I do now is from all my past. Do you know what I mean? And that's taught me how to do my job now.
Yeah.
It's quite funny, because one of my biggest clients, he came from my first client. So my first client, I used to talk to this particular client, Ryan, because he used to do a lot of work for my first client. And I used to talk to him all the time. He kept saying, oh, I've really got to talk to you about helping me out, blah, blah. And this went on for ages and ages and ages. And by the end of November 22, he finally phoned me on my real phone, because I used to have another phone with this first client. And we had a chat, and he took me on. Unfortunately, I had to let go of my first client last year, because I just wasn't happy with the way he spoke to me.
That is the thing.
Was hard.
Yeah, it's, you don't always get your dream clients, unfortunately. I would say as well, Melinana, so you need to think about and listen to last week's show where we talked about niching. What's your past experience? So what's your hobbies? What is your education background? What are you good at? What jobs have you done before? And that could be turned into a specific niche for a particular industry that wants your skills. So you don't necessarily have to have the exact same skill set as everybody else. But tech VAs can work in CRM systems, automation, websites. You don't have to be that person, but you might have something else that you can bring to the table, like graphic design, organization for people that have just got busy lives. So it's really good to think about that. And then she's asked about what to charge. I'm not sure where you are in the world. In the UK, I think the average, I would say, is it should be about £45 per hour. I know people charge cheaper. So, anything from like £20 up to £50 per hour. It really depends on what you've got to offer. If you are a admin VA and you're not offering marketing or tech support, then you're probably going to charge a cheaper rate. My advice would always be to charge up front, not on invoice. And I'm going to talk to Tasha about that in a minute, because you've got no protection if people do not pay you. And I would always say, have a retainer or bundle your packages into hours. So we do like 5, 10, 15, because if you instead do it on, I'll bill you at the end of the month based on how many hours I've done. And let's say you've done 20 hours, but in the client's head, he thought you were only going to do 10. Then there's going to be a debate, and then you're going to be arguing about it. So to protect yourself, they buy a block of time. If they run out of time, they can add more time. And that's what my advice would be for that. So Tasha, I want to ask you, because we talked about this in getting started as a VA episode. I do not think it matters whatsoever at all in the beginning if you have a website, and too many VAs get caught up in, I've got to have a website first. And I think you're kind of proof of that, because you said that when you started the first time, you got your friend to build a website, nothing happened. The second time, you didn't even need your website.
I know. It's funny. It's because I always, when I was taking people on after that, when I started again, I did it properly. I always say, have a look at my website, because on my website it says what my clients say about me. Just because, and what was really good about my lovely electricians is when I would post on Electrician Network, 2 or 3 of them would comment on it and say, you've got to get Tash, she's amazing, I couldn't live without her. And they, this stream of comments.
That's amazing.
Because the thing is, they will trust other electricians more than
yeah, of course. And you can screenshot all of that and use it in your socials. But even then, you didn't need a website. You just needed like Google My Business or Trustpilot, something that you can link them to. I think the other thing is you've got to make your customer journey as easy as possible. So if you're directing them to too many places, they just won't go. People want convenience. So I think that proves the point that a website is not necessary. As long as you've got some links to something, whether that's a book a call or to your reviews, I think they are just the most important things you need. And also, as you've said, as long as you get that one first good client, and like you've explained, Tasha, that leads to so many referrals and so many other clients. Like most of ours come from referrals as well. So that's why it's so important to do such a good job, and why it's great to niche, because like your example is perfect, that if you've niched into that area, they're going to tell everyone in that sector about you. In that community.
But I do have a lot of electricians. But funny enough, I took on a lady called Larissa last year, because I got an email from her last January saying, my husband has told me that Jamie has told him that you're amazing, has his VA, and I really want you to be my VA. And this was Jamie in Manchester. So I rang her and she took me on just to do her bookkeeping. Unfortunately, I finished with her last August because she gave up because she had a baby.
Oh, right.
But that just goes to show that it's because Jamie works with Andy, her husband, and he told Andy all about me, and I've spoken to Andy on the phone quite a lot. And then that you know what I mean, that brought me a client.
Yeah, because if you do niche, niching is just getting your foot in the door. It's just getting your foot in the door, and then from there they learn more about your services, and that's how the it's like spreads like wildfire then, doesn't it? If you do it right. Fantastic. And then I wrote something down and I can't read my invoicing. So don't tell me, Tasha, that you don't charge up front.
No, I don't.
Oh my God. But you must have had some moments where you've had to chase invoices.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. To be honest, most of my clients are really good. I invoice everybody on a Friday night. With the hours that I've done. I've got 2 ladies, the 2 ladies up the road from me, small companies, 1 hour a week. And then I've got some clients, so I do like between 10 and 12. And then I send my invoice and probably 80% pay on that night. Funny enough, I've actually got access to 2 of my clients' banks, so I pay myself.
But the thing is, so you're invoicing weekly?
Yeah.
And I suppose that's a good way to protect yourself doing it that way, because if they don't pay you, well, work just stops immediately, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a particular client that I invoice every week, but he pays me every 2 weeks.
Right, okay.
And then, so on the second Friday, I send him my invoice. I say, right, okay, that's 2 weeks you owe me now. Please pay me tonight. And he probably will just about pay me by Monday morning.
So what was your decision to invoice instead of paying up front?
I don't know. I prefer to invoice for the work I've done in that week.
Right.
I don't believe in retainers or any. I've never done that.
Yeah. But then in like Kirsty's case, she lost nearly £1,000 by not doing that. Yeah. So she had nearly £1,000 And that's because of she was working the way you're working. And a lot of VAs do that, but they bill at the end of the month. And the issue I've got with it is if you do that and you're not packaging your hours, you're also reserving your time. So some clients won't give you any work, but you can't then bill them because they've given you no work, but you still have to hold your time for them and you're not getting paid for it.
I have in my contract, so bless him, I've got a guy, Andy, right? So I had an electrician called Chris. Unfortunately, he went out of business last January, but we kind of stayed in touch. And then last August, I got a phone call from a guy called Andy, who's a good friend of Chris's, because with Chris, all I used to do was take phone calls for him.
Yeah.
Like on an app. And this Andy said, oh, I want you to do what you did for Chris. I said, yeah, no problem. So I've got an app on my phone. So when it rings, I know to answer precision home improvements. And I literally, some week, I might do 10 minutes a week.
Yeah.
But I bill him an hour.
Yeah.
My contract states a minimum of 1 hour.
Right, okay.
But he pays me immediately.
Yeah, that's great. But what if you get a client that says, you know what, I'm going to be really busy. I'm going to want like 10 hours a week from you. And then 1 week they only give you 3 hours. You've still had to reserve those other 7 hours. Just
I don't really get that, to be honest. I don't, it's sometimes like for instance, Dave, I'm really busy with because he's solar. He does solar. So I'm very busy with solar. But then I worked last weekend trying to get all of his accounts up together because it was year end on Monday.
Yeah.
And I did 7 hours for him.
It may just be that you're in that lucky little niche of tradespeople where it works well for you.
Yeah.
But I still think for most VAs, getting you paid up front is really, really important. But I think it obviously works quite well. So
to be honest, but there's hardly any that I'm not paid by the Monday.
Yeah.
Did you ever? Because when I started, Tasha, I was the same as you. I, like Lisa said, I invoiced up end of month. But did it ever enter your mind to charge up front? Because it didn't mine, and that was a massive. I'd be curious to understand. I mean, I didn't ever think of it. Did you ever think of it, or it was just something that you just didn't want to do?
I just I've got an app on my phone called what's it called? Work Hours. And I've got everybody on my phone, and I just swipe when I start working. It's like I call it work Tinder. So I swipe when I start working, I swipe again, and at the end of each day, I've got a spreadsheet where I add up how many minutes or hours I've done for them every day. So at the end of the week, it tells me how much I have to invoice them.
Right.
That's brilliant.
If I've done like 9 hours 17 minutes. That 70 minutes will be carried over to the next week.
Yeah.
I won't invoice 9.5 hours,
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. But it obviously works for you, which is fantastic. Yeah. Melinana's asked which country we're from. We're all in the UK. We're all UK based. And our clients, we've had clients in Dubai, the US, but mostly in the UK. So but we'll happily work with clients globally. Are all your clients UK based, Tasha?
Yeah, all UK based. I've got Dave in Dunstable. I've got Tom in Brighton. I've got Jamie in Manchester. I've got Sarah lives up the road. Vicky lives up the road.
So all over the UK.
All over the UK, yeah.
Yeah. And she's also asked. It's okay. You can ask as many questions. She's apologising. Ask as many questions as you like. Do we use any time track at all? So my VA agency is LTVA Services, and we actually have our own bespoke time portal system that we had built for us. But before that, we used tools like Toggle. What do you use, Tasha? Do you use anything?
It's called Work Hours. I didn't get on with Toggle.
No, it's not for everyone.
Work Hours. It's nice and colourful.
Nice.
And you just like swipe and then swipe.
There you go.
And then down there, it gives you a list of how much you've done for everyone.
That's fantastic, Melinana. Work Hours. I've not even heard of that before, so that's really good. So you say you're at 13 clients now, but you work about 50 hours a week, don't you?
Yes, but that is going to change.
That
is going to change. I mean, the money's good, but it's going to change. But it's like when I go on holiday, it's great. When I get back, it's just mental. I do like 60, 70 hours a week on that second week I'm back from holiday.
No
It's
way.
crazy.
And that's because you don't want to, because the easy model would be to outsource and use associates, but you don't want to go down that route.
No, and my clients don't want it either. But I mean, that's why I've got an assistant. And she works right next to me. I can train her, you know, show her, because she's never done solar panel admin before.
Yeah.
I mean, she's never really heard of it. But I can train her and show her exactly what to do. So because she's taken over a lot of the solar stuff,
Yeah,
I'll be still doing some of it. But you know, I've got Dave, I've got Tom, electrician in Brighton. He's just about to start doing solar. I've also got Dan in Kent.
Yeah.
He's starting solar. So with the solar panel admin taken off, I can then concentrate on all the other bits for everyone else.
Yeah. But you know, it's really interesting. I've got a lady coming on in a couple of weeks who she built her business to, like, it's amazing what she's done. And it's worth a lot of money. And she's done it by working with employees. So probably what you're doing, she took on employee assistants, so no associates, and she's built the business up that way. So I suppose that's an avenue you could really start to go down, because this is one assistant, but that might lead to two.
Yeah, it might do. Who knows? You know, because I was thinking, like, you know, like if it got bigger, maybe I could like rent an office up the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Isn't it amazing how you start off as like a solo VA, but there's just so much more you can do with that business. Like, you really can.
But I think it's because I'm a VA. I think because I know associates are great, but it's because I feel more comfortable knowing she's sat next to me and I'm training her. Do you know what I mean? And the good thing is she hasn't got any bad habits, because she's never done what I'm getting her to do. She's never done before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you sound a bit like a control freak.
Probably, yeah.
So Wendy is actually on the call. She's coming next week. Well, not next week, the week after, because next week we're not here, guys. It is Good Friday in the UK and my birthday. So we're having the day off. And Kirsty didn't know that. So Kirsty, you got the day off next Friday. So I can't wait to have. She's on the chat as Speedy Calls UK. To have her on, because it's a fascinating story. But I think all of these stories, like Tasha, your story, I love the fact that you did what everybody does that starts out. They thought, oh, they're all just going to come flying in. It really does not work like that. Like, it really is difficult. And then you went away and came back with fresh determination and made a massive success of it. So I think that's just it. So there's hope, isn't there? You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would just advise anybody to just not give up.
Yeah,
not give up. And if you really want to do it, find a way to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there are, as we all know, thousands and thousands of people across the UK that need people like us. You know.
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, as well, I think a lot of my clients at the time didn't realise they needed me.
Yeah.
But before me, they were working till 10, 11 o'clock at night and on Saturdays, because they were doing the stuff that now I'm doing for them. And also what was quite funny is a lot of their accountants were doing what I'm doing.
Oh, interesting.
So when I first started with a few of my clients, I took quite a bit of work off their accountants. Yeah. So they didn't really like me very much. But to be fair, now I've got a really good relationship with all of my clients' accountants. And funny enough, two of my clients' accountants are my good friend Kim, because I introduced, because they need an accountant and they're local, so I introduced Kim and now she's their accountant.
Wow.
So, and it's quite funny that, you know, because I like to say to my clients, I basically do everything before it gets to the accountant.
Yeah, that makes life easier.
The accountant can do your year end, your corporation tax, your personal self-assessment, but I can do everything before it gets to them.
Amazing. I would say, just putting it out there, in the UK, not a lot of VAs realise this, but you have to be registered for anti-money laundering.
Yes, I know. I pay £300 a year.
Tasha's doing it right, and lots of VAs do not realise that when they offer.
You know what though? I got fined £1,500.
No, what happened?
Because basically in 22, I was having a chat with a lady who was thinking about taking me on as an associate, and she mentioned AML. And I'd never heard of it. Never heard of it. So I looked into it, I thought, oh, well, and I put out on the Facebook groups, and they said, no, yeah, you should have it. But I'd never literally heard of it.
Yeah.
So I got it straight away. Then I got an email from the HMRC saying they were fining me £1,500 because I should have got it in April 21.
And what triggered that then? Were you reported, or is it the fact that you signed up?
Because obviously I think maybe when I applied for the AML, I said in 22, I said my business started in April 21.
Right, okay.
Oh, okay. So you'd said it was the year before.
Yeah, but I'm like, my defence, I'd never heard of it.
Yeah, I know.
If I hadn't heard of it, I would have got it in April 21. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And
£1,500.
I know, but this is the problem. And I actually developed a quiz, again, links in the bio, to help you decide whether or not you could be breaking the anti-money laundering rules in the UK by offering bookkeeping, invoicing. There's things like you shouldn't be going into Xero accounts, QuickBooks accounts, and all of that, and doing certain things in there without having this license.
I think I was a bit naive because at the beginning I thought if you haven't got control of their bank, it shouldn't affect you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not, is it?
It's one of those things I didn't know about either until I was speaking to an accountant who told. I asked for some advice on free agent because she's a free agent specialist, and she said to me, "Are you registered?" And I was like, "What?" And then I thought, Jesus, how many people have made this mistake?
Yeah.
So it's really important. But another lesson learned, I suppose. But it's brilliant you've got that, because now, again, you've got something that you can showcase as, look what I've got, that compared to other VAs, I've got this, certificate that tells me I can do this thing, and I take my job really seriously, and I'm professional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think not everyone can be a VA. But like I say, you've got to be very organised. You've got to be very, I'm juggling 12 people,
Yeah.
And I try and give them all my time, but like I can be on the phone. I mean, my phone is constantly going off right now, but it's on silent. But I can be on the phone 80% of the time, and someone else is ringing me at the same time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I literally, when I go to bed at night and I read my book, before I lay down, I literally plan out my next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And my whole day is planned out with who I'm going to speak to, who I'm going to do first thing in the morning, like hour blocks in the day.
Yeah, I do. I do it by, it's a rolling. I use an app called Sunsama and Kirsty loves it now as well, because I think one of the mistakes you make is you don't realise your capacity, and suddenly you're booked out. Whereas if you use something from early on that kind of plans out your day, you realise, well, actually, there's no more hours left in the day to fit that person in. Wendy says, impressive, Tasha. Well done. You've amazing success. So we're just about going to wrap up, but I think it's just brilliant for VAs to realise that there is hope, but you do have to be consistent. I mean, I remember when I first started, I always knew I wanted to be an agency. It was always going to be that. I wasn't going to do it on my own. And so I very early on took on, like Kirsty's been with me practically from the beginning. I took on 3 people. I couldn't even pay myself at this point. But I knew because in my first business, I didn't outsource ever. So I just worked like your tradespeople. I worked for 10 years on my own, 24/7. I took holidays only once a year for a week. I was too scared in case my clients left. And it was ridiculous. I say for 10 years. By year 7, I was pregnant, and it was a difficult situation that I was in because my son was going to be really sick when he was born. And we knew that. So I had to then I took on 10 subcontractors and an employee, a delivery driver, and the business grew because I've released my capacity. I now got it to a place it could scale, but it's too late by then. I'd fallen out of love with it. But when I started this business, I knew that was a massive mistake. And the only way I was going to truly scale the business, it was if I very early on took more people on. And that's what I did. And there were times in that first year, I would say, where I was worried to death, literally had no money coming in, but I was still paying people like Kirsty and not sure if this was the right thing. And I persevered, and it's paid off. Now I've got, we've had some ups and downs. We've had a team of associates, and then I've sacked them all off because I've been burnt. But this time around, we've got the most amazing team because I've done things differently that I needed to do. And we've got, I think there's 7 with you, Kirsty, and it's just growing and it's brilliant. And I'm now in a place where I can work on other things that because initially I've started off as a VA. I gradually became a tech VA. Now I love doing things like developing courses, delivering workshops. And so my passion started to go there. You learn a lot about yourself, I think, when you become a VA.
Yeah, I think probably my biggest achievement was when I won the Theopathesis Award.
Amazing.
I was like, I started my business April 21, and January 22, he messaged me and said that I'd won. And I just couldn't believe it. I just like, oh my God. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just crazy to think that he chose me.
Yeah, and that you could achieve that. Which
yeah,
you definitely deserve it. We've had another little comment from Melinana. She said she's a finance accounting person. So she worked for 10 years for her boss, but she's resigned now. Designing content's not her thing. And that's brilliant. I think defining what you don't want to do is really good. I think, was it you, Tasha, who said, I don't want to clean people's inboxes? Or was that Wendy? I can't remember.
No, I think that is one of the best things about running your own business is you can choose who to work with.
Absolutely.
You don't have to go into an office and deal with morons. Do you know what I mean? You can choose who to work with, most important thing, and you can choose what you do.
Yeah.
I think
things that I say I can't do.
I think a good point is when I started out as a VA, I didn't have the skills to do like social media content and not graphic design, but kind of pretty pictures and all that kind of thing. And now I've learned so much in the last 3 years that I can do things like that.
Yeah.
So it's even if you don't have the feeling of that when you first start out, that may well come in a year or so, because you'll find different
I know
interests.
Now to what when I started is worlds apart.
Yeah.
I believe every day is a learning. Every day is a school day.
It is. Yeah. I'm the same, because I remember I used to say to Kirsty, well, I'm not a tech VA, and she'd go, you bloody are. And I'd be like, I don't think I can call myself that. I felt like a fraud, but I built myself to a place where I spent 2 years on personal development, going to every course, everything that was out there, and then just having a go, like no formal training, but going into CRM systems, using automation. And now it's like a passion. I love systems and processes and going in and seeing how big businesses can be automated. God, I look back a few years ago, I can't imagine that I ever would have thought I could do that. I would say for you, Melinana, if that's your background experience is finance accounting, then use that as a niche to go into. That's who you want to support. You want to support people in those positions. You could go to accountancy firms. Loads of accountants are constantly looking for some support, especially the ones that are more remote and they're not like an office space and they're trying to grow the business. In fact, there's a client of ours who's an accountant, and I've done some automation work for her, and she just put like a post out yesterday, they're taking people on, and I put that out to my whole team because she specifically wants someone location based, but they're always taking people on. So I would say use your knowledge initially as your niche to get your foot in the door and develop your skills over time, because you will learn a lot.
It's quite funny, like my friend Kim, the accountant, she's also given me clients because she's got clients, but she can't do what I can do.
Yeah.
And that's why I pass people to her, because she can do what I can't do.
Yeah, that's it.
Everything that I do, I have never been on a course. It's all self-taught.
Exactly. Yeah, same here.
It's all experience. You know what I mean? It's all self-taught. And if I don't know how to do it, I sure as well will know shortly.
Yeah, and that's what we're the same lot. I'll say no, but I'll find out. I will tell the client, look, I don't know, but I know I can learn it, and I always can, because there's that many YouTube tutorials out there.
Oh God, yeah, I know.
Everything. Well, it's been absolutely amazing to have you on, Tasha. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me?
On your Instagram, your LinkedIn.
Instagram, I'm Dove _virtual assistant. Dove virtual assistant on Facebook.
Yeah.
And my website is www.dove-virtualassistant.co.uk.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us. It's been fascinating, and I think you've probably inspired, and you will inspire lots of people to not give up.
I hope so. Just don't give up. Just go in what you believe in and be your own boss.
we've got to end it there because that was a brilliant line. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, for all your questions. Don't forget, link in the bio if you want our free resources and to play back previous episodes of the Live Lounge on all popular podcast channels.
Thank you.